I'll look at the Central States US coin signature auction now with some of the unmissable pattern coins that were on offer. Let's kick things off with a bizarre and interesting little piece, ostensibly an obverse die trial for an 1804 dime. However, the trial was struck onto an 1838 large cent, meaning that it had to be created at least later than 1838. We have only to assume that it was in fact created around the 1860s or so as a result of the Joseph McKinley restrikes of the 1804 dimes, which are known to exist. Authenticated by PCGS with a grade of AU 58+, it sold at auction for $38,400. Presented after that was a master die trial for a seated Liberty $quarter coin, likely created around 1840 or so, specifically the with drapery no motto seated quarter, before the stars were added to the master die itself, struck on a planchet the size of a $half, but composed of an outer layer of copper with a zinc core, graded by NGC as MS64. It is the only known example to exist of its kind and sold at auction for $48,000. During the third quarter of the 19th century, there was a push from several fronts to try and create an American coinage system to either compete with or serve as an international medium of exchange, chiefly for use in the European and Asian markets. Several coins and noteworthy patterns were then born from these initiatives. Probably chief amongst these would be the stellar or gold $4 coins. Here we see a stunning example of the 1878 flowing hair stellar in all of its glory with a grade of proof 63 from NGC. The coin sold at auction for $132,000. A closely related coin would then also be the metric $20, often referred to as the quintuple stellar. This is a copper pattern of what would have been intended to be a gold $20 coin, of which an estimated dozen or so are thought to exist today. The grade of PCGS Proof 64 Red-Brown secured this coin a price of $114,000 at auction. Now, the trade dollar is, of course, a coin that did actually make it into circulation, unlike some of the previous examples. But before William Barber's Liberty design was approved, this was also a considered design for that silver dollar coin, struck here in white metal with the reverse design that borrows heavily from the commercial dollar of the previous year. It is one of only two such known examples today, graded by PCGS as proof 63, and the final price achieved at auction for this rare coin was $102,000. In fact, the trade dollars went through quite a few different revisions before the final design was adopted, one of which was William Barber's Indian Princess revision, where at least the basic idea begins to take form, and certainly the reverse is a lot closer to its final form on this coin. The example here was graded by PCGS as proof 66 and sold at auction for $11,700. Yet another trade dollar pattern coin that I'd like to mention is the design by Philadelphia sculptor Joseph Alexis Bailey, that while a competent design in and of itself, it doesn't quite manage to capture that elusive sense of patriotic vigor that the trade dollar conveys with such seeming ease. The coin was struck in copper and graded by PCGS as proof 66 brown. It was sold at auction for $20,400. And now we have something that you rarely ever get to see, a paired obverse and reverse hub trials for the 1915 Octagonal Panama Pacific Exhibition $50 coin. So what this is a test of the hubs created most likely before the dies were ever even created by impressing it onto an oversized copper planchet. As a result, the image of the coin impressed on both sides is mirrored as the working die would have in fact been. This piece, as with a few others on this list, is in fact unique, and especially in this case, it's easy to see how only a single example could have ever been created. Authenticated by PCGS with a grade of SP65 red with a green CAC bean atop, it managed to raise $168,000 at auction. The final Buffalo pre-production pattern is presented next. The only marked difference between this coin and the final coin released for circulation is a slightly wider rim and the missing designer's initial of F for James Earl Frazier just below the date. A total of 17 of these pattern coins were minted, but today only 4 can be positively identified. Now that includes the 2 examples that are held at the Smithsonian, but not including the coin that President Roosevelt placed inside the cornerstone of the All Souls Church in Washington, D.C. Rated by PCGS as proof 66, when this rare pattern fell under the auctioneer's gavel, it managed to sell for $192,000 at auction. And then we have a late production pattern coin for the Walking Liberty $half coin. At first glance, it might appear as a normal $half, but a closer scrutiny of the coin will soon reveal numerous differences between this and the final design. For the obverse, the letters of Liberty are all a lot thinner, and the E is positioned directly above Liberty's head. The numbers of the date are also noticeably larger on this pattern coin, not to mention that the In God We Trust section is aligned towards the right. The reverse too has some of its secrets to reveal. Most noticeably, the designer's monogram is missing from this design entirely. All of the elements are moved further away from the rim of the coin and then altered slightly to compensate for this move. Graded as proof 65 with what I suppose can be described as a satin or matte-like finish to the coin. The coin is unique in private hands, with only a single other example known in the Smithsonian. It sold at auction for $216,000. During the mid-1800s, concerns were raised inside the mint over a practice known as filling, where material would be removed from a gold coin and then plugged or filled with platinum, which has a similar weight to gold but was significantly cheaper during that time in history. The proposed solution was then a series of pattern coins where the dimensions of the coins were changed in an attempt to prevent any attempt to alter the coins in this particular manner. The result? A coin that was both thinner and had a wider diameter than a normal coin. By example, this 1878 half eagle, featuring Charles Morgan's bold design choices with a reverse that does have more in common with a Morgan dollar than an actual gold eagle, along with his equally unapologetic design on the obverse, where very nearly every inch of design space is utilized. It measures 25.4 millimeters, nearly an inch, compared to the 21.6 millimeters of a normal half-eagle coin. Only a single example of this coin is known to exist in gold, graded by PCGS as proof 65 plus cameo. It sold at auction for $456,000. While a companion to this that matches the same description right down to being the only known example was also on offer. This time though, it was a quarter eagle, and the coin was graded by PCGS as proof 67 cameo. The $2.50 gold pattern sold in turn for $384,000. Now, an evergreen favorite will forever be the 1794 silver dollar, and rightly so too, with the brand Neil Carter specimen considered by many people to have been the very first specimen ever struck at the US Mint. Still preserved to this day in an almost unbelievable grade of SP66. However, before that coin could even be created, the dies had to first be tested, and the patterns of 1794 tell a absolutely fascinating story. What we have here is a 1794 dollar coin struck on a copper planchet. Technically, it might be correct to refer to this as a die trial, as the reverse die is of the same one used to strike the regular silver dollars of 1794. But the obverse has many subtle differences that identify it as a different die altogether. Most noticeably, though, is that it lacks the 13 obverse stars, with the design adhering more closely to the description as laid forth within the Mint Act of 1792 that makes no mention of any stars whatsoever. So in a way, this trial strike or transitional pattern represents the purest and most literal interpretation of the original vision for the silver dollar as put forth by Congress. The next coin struck in this particular sequence would then be the Judd 19 example, where the stars were in fact added to the design, and after that would have been the final product, the 1794 flowing hair silver dollar. It is probably also worth mentioning that this copper dollar pattern also has a companion coin in the form of a copper half dime that similarly lacks the obverse stars and has the denomination listed on the reverse, features that are divergent from the final circulation coin. Both coins are in fact unique, meaning that only a single example of either are known to exist today. The half dime is curated as a part of the National Numismatic Collection at the Smithsonian, while the dollar is offered as a part of the sale of the Bob Simpson collection here. Graded as VF25 by PCGS, this unmatched treasure of the early US Mint's history was sold at auction for $840,000. Subscribe to WNN and activate notifications with the bell icon to know when new videos are released. For the World Numismatic News, I am Numisman saying thank you for watching, stay safe, keep collecting, and have a fantastic day.